So, what was the Fredonian Rebellion? Happened in 1826. Any idea? Well, you are going to love this. Kentucky had a senator, Senator Edwards. His son, Aiden, Hayden, excuse me, not Aiden, Haden, had been trained as a lawyer, but he was more about land speculation. He liked buying land. And so he kind of got into the same groove as Stephen F. Austin and became an impresario. He bought, he made a contract with the Mexican government to bring 800 families to Texas. Now, what he did was he brought them to an area near Nacogdoches, East Texas. So he bought the land, but when he got there, he was a little bit discouraged by the fact that there were people already there, settled. And in fact, there were some whose families went back about 100 years. They were called old settlers. Well, this frustrated him a little bit because he had some 800 families coming from America, and by the contract he had to honor any of the titles that were given to him by these people who said they owned the land. Well, he was a little bit concerned that maybe some of these titles were fraudulent. And so he decided that he was going to make the people pay for being there. And they go, whoa, we already own this land. But he wanted to make some money off this thing because he was trying to figure out, okay, what do I do with these 800 families that I brought here? Well, the people were not too happy with him. His actions angered many of the old settlers. Their rage increased the following year after a questionable election. Now, they had an election and their leaders were called ALDE. Well, it turns out that during the election, Hayden's son was elected the ALDE, and everybody thought it was corrupt. And that wasn't going to sell. So what happened was they felt like the election had been stolen from them. Many old settlers suspected fraud. They complained to the government, which sided with the old settlers. In October 1826, the Mexican government canceled Edwards' contract, declaring that he was no longer fulfilling its terms. Now, a group of his Edwards supporters took action. They arrested the new alcalde, the one that the Mexican government had put in, and tried to force him from office. The Mexican government sent troops to support the alcalde. In response, Edwards, his brother, Benjamin, and their supporters, including some Cherokees, declared themselves free from Mexican rule. They planned to establish the Republic of Fredonia. Okay? And on December 21, 1826, they issued the Fredonian Declaration of Independence. And it reads partially as this. We can read this real quick. The government of the Mexican United States have repeated insults, treachery, and oppression, reduced the people of Texas to the dreadful alternative of either submitting their freedom next to the yoke or of taking up arms in defense of their unalienable rights and asserting their independence. Nice, bold statement, right? Most Texans, both Tejanos and Anglos alike, opposed the Fredonian Rebellion. Stephen F. Austin, who supported the Mexican government's decision, called out the militia. In 1827, January of 1827, the Fredonians learned that Mexican troops and the militia, that's Stephen F. Austin's militia, were coming. The rebels, including Hayden Edwards, fled. The Republic collapsed. Well, it's a case of a man thinking he had more authority than he did, and let it go out of control. I just think it was interesting because back when he first tried to bring his people, the 800 people, to the country, it says this: Edwards' contract required him to respect. Oh, I said this wrong. Well, Hayden Edwards received his impresarial contract from the Mexican government in 1825. The contract gave him permission to settle some 800 families near Nacogdoches. When he arrived, Edwards found that a number of Mexican families, Anglo settlers, and Cherokee, had lived on the land for years. Some families had been living on land for more than 100 years. They had become known as old settlers. Edwards' contract required him to respect the property rights of all settlers who had legal titles to their land. In this case, the only legal titles were those issued by Spain or Mexico. Edwards, however, was not happy with the rule. He declared some of the old settlers' titles to be forgeries. He just declared them forgeries. And he also demanded that people pay him additional fees for land they had already purchased. So he was getting on the wrong side of these people by charging them money when they said they already bought the land. So you got a guy who really isn't a businessman. He's supposed to be, he studied to be a lawyer. He's trying to buy property. He's trying to be an impresario. You might say maybe he's a little bit out of his league. Anyway, it didn't work out too well for him. He got his brother sided with him, but his brother got elected to Alcalde, and everybody thought that was corrupt. So it just went haywire. And finally, when he thought he had declared independence, Stephen F. Austin came on the side of the Mexican government. They came after the guy, and he split. Hey, that's the way rebellions go sometimes. But that Fredonian rebellion did have an impact. Why? It got news to the United States that maybe, just maybe, things weren't so perfect in Texas. So the Americans that were still in, many Americans in the United States started to get interested in Texas. Maybe, just maybe, we need to buy this place. Oh boy, that was something that Texas wasn't expecting. So now you have the possibility that we might actually try to take Texas as being a part of the United States. And that we'll have to talk about another time. Talk to you later.